So Leonard Ellerbe and Eddie Hearn, they have been going back and forth dissing each other for years. They finally meet up face to face for the first time in a very, very long time. And to some people's surprise, the energy was completely different. They were even asked about the beef. Leonard Ellerbe, he said there was never beef.
There's never beef. Beef is beef, and people know what beef is. It's all competition. It's all it is. He thinks that he's the best at what, and it's like, no, you're not coming to the States and taking over because we got this, and this. Just competition. That's all it is. Never personal. Never personal.
And then Eddie Hearn, he tried to make it sound like he was taking shots at Canelo Alvarez, but he really wasn't. Because Eddie Hearn, he promotes Edgar Berlanga, and Canelo Alvarez is truly a PBC fighter. Even though he's a free agent, Canelo has already made it very clear that he felt that PBC and Al Haymon are the best promoters in the sport of boxing. He said this multiple times. So Eddie Hearn, he says to Leonard Ellerbe, Canelo Alvarez is going to get old one day. And I'm thinking to myself, what is that even supposed to mean? Every fighter is going to get old one day. That was pretty much like Eddie Hearn's way of saying that he knows his fighter, Edgar Berlanga, has no chance. He knows that this is another simple cherry pick when it comes to Canelo.
One of these days, Canelo's going to get old.
It won't be Saturday night.
If it happens on Saturday, then I'm jumping all over you in there on Saturday night.
You guys remember what Eddie Hearn said when Terence Crawford was fighting Madrimov, right? Even though Terence Crawford is older than Canelo Alvarez, Eddie Hearn, he didn't say that one day Crawford is going to get old. He said Madrimov is going to beat Crawford. And I can understand being loyal to your fighter and even being biased towards your fighter. But when it came to Terence Crawford, Eddie Hearn was completely disrespecting him. He was going beyond just picking his fighter to win. He was saying things like Terence Crawford was using Canelo Alvarez's name to sell their fight. Even though he knows that Terence Crawford is pushing for this Canelo Alvarez fight, Eddie Hearn comes out and he says that Canelo doesn't want to fight him because he knows that Crawford is going to play it safe. He's going to move around the ring. And Canelo Alvarez doesn't like those kind of fights, which Eddie Hearn knew when he said that it was 1,000% untrue. Because probably more than half of the fighters that Canelo Alvarez chose, they moved in the ring. Caleb Plant moves in the ring way more than Terence Crawford. And Canelo, he wanted that fight so bad that even after Caleb Plant turned down the fight twice on two different occasions, Canelo still pushed for the fight and ended up even giving Caleb double the money that they originally offered him. That's how bad Canelo Alvarez wanted to get in the ring with a fighter who's going to move around and play it safe. So something else they talked about, Eddie Hearn and Leonard Ellerbe. They went back and forth on the potential fight between Gervonta Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson. And once again, Eddie Hearn, he had no problem saying that his fighter, Shakur Stevenson, is going to win, regardless if he believes it or not, which is completely understandable. But the only time he doesn't pick against the fighter is if it's Canelo. So this is what they said about the Gervonta versus Shakur fight.
More than a decade. For Edgar Berlanga, though,
in the ring versus one another.
he's hungry.
There's rumors of Tank potentially fighting in November. Shakur scheduled to fight Joe Cordina. Are we ever going to see you two get together and make that fight happen, the fight that everybody wants to see?
Tank will be back before the end of the year. You're looking at a couple guys right now, but he'll be back before the end of the year. As it relates to the Shakur Stevenson fight, Tank wants him. Tank wants him. But it's all about the timing of everything. All about the timing.
I feel that we've got a two-fight plan with Shakur. Hopefully extends Joe Cordina, Zepeda in February. I think that Tank against Shakur is one of the biggest fights in the sport. I think Tank is so exceptional, it's going to take someone as good as Shakur to give him a real fight. And I love that fight. I love that.
What? Shakur can't beat Tank.
I disagree.
He beat all the other fighters.
I disagree.
He can't Tank.
I disagree.
Tank
loses rounds.
Tank decides to do what he wants to in certain fights.
Me and you could have a big bet on that fight.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
I think Shakur's the man to beat him.
Shakur cannot Tank. He's a very good fighter. A lot of respect for him, what he's done in the ring. Got a good team around him, but he can't Tank. Can't beat Tank.
I disagree with you on that.
Can't beat Tank.
You know, it's very rare for me to say this, but I think Leonard Ellerbe is telling the truth when he says that that's the fight that Gervonta wants. Because if you guys notice, by way of contrast, Leonard Ellerbe has never said that Gervonta wants the Devin Haney fight. back when everyone was talking about that fight being the biggest fight in boxing, or one of. Instead, Leonard, he would say things like Gervonta can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need Devin Haney. He'll fight Devin Haney when he decides he wants to. He would try to discredit Devin Haney by saying that he can't sell, he's not a draw. But now when it comes to Shakur Stevenson, who has less drawing power than Devin Haney, Leonard Ellerbe is saying, oh, Gervonta, he wants that fight. He wants the Shakur fight. Leonard, he ain't lying. He ain't lying when he says that. I remember leading up to the Frank Martin fight. And Gervonta Tank Davis, he said for the first time in two separate interviews, he was asked, who do you want to fight next? In one interview, he said Lomachenko. And in another interview, he said, I want Shakur next. The way I took that is that meant that he wanted them both. Because understand, Gervonta, I believe he always was planning on fighting Devin Haney and all of those guys eventually. He had always said that before he retires, he wants to fight them. But the difference is now he's saying that he wants, Lomachenko or Shakur Stevenson like now. Not to mention, it's starting to become harder and harder for Gervonta Tank Davis to find good opponents to face. It's really unfortunate that Vasyl Lomachenko, who claimed his dream was to become undisputed at 135, he turned down this fight against Gervonta. That fight would have been massive, because there's nothing that sells more in the sport of boxing than race. Which is the reason why promoters like Bob Arum said that Lomachenko was greater than Ali, Sugar Ray Leonard, and Mayweather. Mike Tyson, he had white people come onto his podcast show and told him that Lomachenko, a lot of people consider him the greatest fighter of all time. And Mike Tyson sat there and didn't even disagree with him, even though he went crazy when Floyd Mayweather said that he was better than Ali. We know what time it is. But with that being said, hopefully Gervonta versus Shakur Stevenson, it happens soon. Now, something else that Eddie Hearn, he said in this interview, he confirmed that Shakur won't be fighting against Gervonta next after the Joe Cardina fight. He's fighting against William Zepeda in February. That's the plan, which means it's going to be even harder for Gervonta Tank Davis to find two opponents that's not Lomachenko in his next two fights. I mean, the fight that he should really be pushing for is the Teofimo Lopez fight. I think that they need to seriously try to put pressure on Teo, even if Teo is trying to avoid it. They need to reach out to Teofimo's team, send him an offer, and once he turns it down, expose him. You can't allow these fighters to turn down these big fights and not let the public know that they're turning them down. With that being said, I'm gonna wrap this video up. That's all I got for now, guys. I'm on to the next one. All right, now check this out, guys. If you're looking to repair eczema scars, burns and bruises, dark spots and blemishes, fever blisters, diabetic ulcers, this right here is the perfect product for you guys. It's called Elerbe Face and Body Oil. Athletes and top-ranking boxers, they're also using it after training to reduce swelling, inflammation, and to ease the pain. So get yours today. Go to elodekey.com, like them on Facebook, and follow them on Instagram. Let me tell you guys about Issa Israel Law Firm. It is a full-service legal practice based in Denver, Colorado, an emerging hub for combat sports and high-altitude training. If you're a fighter inside or outside of the ring and you need a law firm you can trust to fight for you, visit thefighterfirm.com or email help@iilawfirm.com. Legal representation is usually limited to plaintiffs or defendants in Colorado, but iFirm can help anyone in the world with trademarking their business name, logos, and U.S. immigration issues. This brother has been my attorney for a while and helped guide me through all kinds of business and civil issues, so make sure you guys go to thefighterfirm.com.